Hello, listeners. This is Kat, and welcome back to Put Your Hands Up Podfics. This will be the continuation of Datastream. This will be Part 14, Chapter 14. It's just a mild sprain, Izuku complained.
I don't care, Uncle countered. If you're clumsy enough to trip on nothing and hurt yourself, I'm not risking you coming today. Get back to your training. Learn to at least not trip over your own feet, and then maybe next time you can come.
Izuku had tripped on his way to the class, excited about the trip to the USJ, and he caught himself poorly, spraining his wrist. Granny Chio had healed him, of course, but Uncle wasn't budging. He would have to watch the entire trip remotely. But Uncle Shouta, if I stay here, you can't keep an eye on me. What if I hurt myself somehow here? Izuku gave his best puppy eyes to his uncle, hoping that would help. Papa can usually get his way when he does that.
You do have a decent point.
Before Izuku could cheer, Uncle grabbed his arm and marched him to 1C's classroom. Opening the door, he said to Papa,
Mike, I need a babysitter. He's your problem until I get back.
Sure thing, Eraser. Come on in, little listener. Take a seat at the desk. We were about to start a lesson on verbs. Izuku glared between the two for a moment before sighing in defeat and went to the chair behind the teacher's desk and slumped forward, face planting directly onto the desk, and buried his head in his arms. Verb. A verb is a word that in syntax conveys an action, an occurrence, or a state of being. In the usual description of English, the basic form, with or without the particle to, is the infinitive. In many languages, verbs are inflected to encode tense, aspect, mood, and voice. Izuku's voice was just barely understandable. That's right, listener, but let's have the actual students take a crack at the lesson, you dig? Shouta almost felt bad about leaving Izuku behind, but after yesterday's break-in, Shouta wasn't taking any chances. No one knew what had been taken, and that idiot Yagi had already used up his 3 hours of time for the day. Izuku had made a comment while on the drive to school that All Might had been seen performing acts of heroism all morning. It was as if he had forgotten what his schedule for the day was. And that had gotten Shouta thinking maybe that was what was taken. Yagi was forgetful enough to need his schedule written out, so if he didn't see that he had the trip to attend, he likely didn't realize doing hero work today was a bad idea. If some villain had the class schedule and knew they were going to be at the USJ, there was no way Shouta was letting his nephew anywhere near there. He had honestly been looking for an excuse to make Izuku stay behind, and him spraining his wrist could not have come at a more convenient time. Was Shouta overprotective of Izuku? Yes. Did he care? Not in the slightest. He had asked Izuku once if he minded that Shouta was so protective, not really wanting him to feel as though Shouta was smothering the teen, and was relieved when Izuku had said that he not only didn't mind, but that he liked it. He had gone so long being neglected and hated that he truly felt loved when Shouta showed he cared, even if that did mean he got left out of trips to the USJ. Watching as the kids all gathered at the bus, he noticed that Kaminari and Todoroki were looking a little shell-shocked and kept glancing to a smug-looking Hitoshi. Suspicious. Have you already sunk your claws into Kaminari and Todoroki? If I say no, can I come to the USJ? No. I'm in an English class, and I'm learning valuable information about verbs. I'm not allowed to be on my phone while in class. First, that's not your class. You are already fluent. Second, did you? Shouta didn't get an answer, which for Izuku was as good as a confession. Looking back to the two boys, he couldn't help but grin into his capture scarf. He had read that the two had issues with their quirks they needed to work on, and that gremlin of his enjoyed fixing people and their quirks. Looking at the class again, he was now thinking of who else he could hand over to his nephew. This would be fun. All right, everyone's here. Shouta schooled his expression into his normal deadpan. Get on the bus. But Sensei, Ashido called out, Izuku's not here. He's not coming. He sprained his wrist. He saw Hitoshi's worried look and quickly signed to him, He's fine, before he could panic. Shouta wasn't the only protective one. Hey, Shinso, Asui asked as they got off the bus at their stop. You've known Aizawa a while, right? And Sensei. Yeah, I met Izu in my first year of middle school, and since Aizawa was his uncle, I met him a few days after. Why? Well, I tend to speak my mind, and I've been wondering, what's his quirk? I've noticed him zoning out a few times, so I'm thinking it's a mental type. Close enough. I'm not going to tell you, though. That's his choice. Hitoshi shrugged. Fair enough, she said, and walked off to rejoin Uraraka. Shouto glanced at Hitoshi. Do you even know what his quirk is? Hitoshi smirked.
I know more than the rest of the class does, but no, he probably hasn't told me everything. I think you know more about it, actually." Shouto hummed. Aizawa handed out comm units to everyone who didn't already have one built into their hero suits, while 13 gave their speech on the dangers of quirks and knowing how to regulate your own quirk for rescue. Once everyone had their comms on and connected, they all heard Izuku's voice in their ears. "Hello, 1A. It is I, your resident gremlin. Uncle wouldn't let me come in person, but I'm still here to observe. If you want any assistance in coordinating the mock rescues, just ask. You don't need to ask for assistance, but part of any good rescue is coordination." "Izuku's correct," 13 said. "Many of the rescues I've participated in were joint efforts with other heroes. Working together and with a coordinator makes the work go faster and smoother." Quietly, Hitoshi mumbled. "Would still be nice if you were here. How's your wrist?" "I'm fine," Izuku answered, just talking to Hitoshi. "Uncle seems nervous about the break-in yesterday. I knew he wasn't going to let me come today, so I may or may not have tripped on purpose to give him an excuse to make me stay behind. Didn't think I'd actually sprain my wrist, though." "I hope that's all it is. Paranoia." Izuku still had his head down on Papa's desk in the 1C classroom while Papa was lecturing about verbs, clearly not paying attention. He was half paying attention to the trip to the USJ, and half watching Nezu lecture Yagi about using up all his time in the morning when he's a heroics teacher and should be at the school on time and ready to perform his duties as a teacher. Suddenly, there was static in his mind. That had never happened before. Izuku sat upright, eyes glazed over, still streaming but now confused. The static was surrounding the USJ. "Uncle? Hitoshi?" When neither answered him, he went from confused to concerned. "Nezu, sorry to interrupt your scolding, but the USJ just went dark. I can't contact Uncle." Izuku hacked into the speaker for the room Nezu was in with Yagi. "Keep me posted," Nezu said. "Also, where are you now?" "I'm in 1C with Papa. I don't want to worry him yet, but he's looking at me as if he knows something's up and has his phone in hand. I don't want to cause a panic just yet, but if you haven't restored contact in—" "I haven't gotten contact yet, but I have the cameras back. I'm sending everyone. There's an invasion. I see at least 70 villains," Izuku interrupted. "It's the villain from yesterday." "Sound the alarm. We're on the way." Throughout all of UA, the level 3 alarms went off, sounding for an intruder. "Attention heroes of UA. The USJ is under attack. Students remain in your classes. Student representatives are in charge. All heroes make your way to USJ." Izuku was still sifting through the static that was the USJ when he was able to break into the sound system. He couldn't hear, but he would be able to communicate with the students and heroes there. Soon after he had that, he was able to break into the rest of the audio. Cursing to himself, he put in a call to the emergency response team. "This is Datastream. The USJ is currently under attack. Heroes are en route to the location, but there will most likely be injuries. There are upwards of 70 villains on location." "Understood," came the reply of the dispatcher. "I will send out police and medics." "Thank you. I'll keep you updated if anything changes." With emergency services on the way, Izuku put all of his attention into getting through the last of the static so he could get back into the individual comm units. He could see his uncle in the middle of a group of villains kicking ass, but he could also see that the students had been spread out throughout the various disaster zones. Hitoshi and Asui were on the shipwreck zone, and Shouto was in the landslide zone with Hagakure. Bakugo and Kirishima were in the ruins zone. Hitoshi and Asui seemed to be doing okay, and he really didn't have any worries about the other students. They were all doing all right. So he focused his attention more fully on the fight his uncle was in, with a group of villains while he did his best to figure out who, why, and how he was locked out of the comms. A minute later, he had managed to trace the disruption to one of the guys in the mountain zone with Yayarozu, Jiro, and Kaminari. Izuku glared at the group of villains they were fighting, aware that the one he needed them to take down wasn't visible. "Don't do it," Izuku thought to himself as he saw what looked like Kaminari getting ready to do a mass electrical attack. "Shit." "Kaminari, don't you dare fucking do that," Izuku said over the USJ's PA system, startling everyone except for his uncle. Uncle had been used to hearing Izuku's voice come over his comm randomly to where he no longer was surprised to hear him in an emergency. "There's an electric shithead with your group. Find another way to get him." After Izuku said that, the electric guy with the jamming quirk emerged, realizing his ambush was trashed, and between the 3 teens, the group on the mountain zone were all taken care of. "Thank fuck, the bitch with the jamming quirk is down. Okay, Datastream is on your comms again. Everyone, get to the entrance, the heroes are on their way." Izuku switched over to just his uncle's comm.
The bitch with the hands has been staring at you, and it looks like they're counting. They figured out your tell. Try to throw him off by cutting out early. Also, this is the same shit as yesterday, so watch his hands. Do not let him touch you.
Oh, is it the same guy? Uncle muttered sarcastically. I couldn't tell from how he looks like the same guy from the break-in footage.
Yeah, I know you pay attention to security briefings. I just wanted to make sure you knew the one villain that hasn't made a move to attack you yet was analyzing you.
Izuku slightly pouted. Thanks, Zu. I got it from here.
Be safe, Uncle. Love you, Izuku whispered to his uncle.
Love you too, Zu.
He turned his attention briefly to the other emergency services to see how far away they were and to see how much longer Uncle needed to hold out for backup to arrive. 5 minutes for backup, and 10 for medical. Okay. The guy with the hands made his move. Izuku could only watch in horror as Uncle's elbow was touched, just briefly but enough to do some damage. Uncle managed to get away from him and turn his quirk on him. He got a solid kick into the guy, causing him to back off.
By the way, Eraserhead, I never said I was the final boss, he said with a smirk. No, Moo.
The brain guy had Uncle pinned quickly, and had broken both of his arms and was slamming his head into the ground. Izuku had to stall for time, or he was going to lose his uncle. Hey, hand job! Izuku yelled over the PA system. I heard you here for All Might, right? He's not here.
You, he shouted. This is the second time I'm hearing you. Where are you? Are you just playing the admin? Hiding behind the scenes?
Well, yeah, I'm no hero, Izuku laughed. Like I'd be any use against someone who can disintegrate anyone with a touch? Bitch, please. I'm going to keep my happy ass as far away from your nasty hands as I can. And your teleporter? I saw a metal armor brace thing in his neck area. I'd be willing to bet actual money that's where his weak spot is. And your brain fuck? Yeah, that brain is like a bright neon sign screaming, here's my weakness. So yeah, I'm the admin behind the scenes, giving information to whoever needs it.
Where are you? Come out and face me, you cheating ass, the guy screamed.
Oh yeah, I haven't been called that before, Izuku laughed sarcastically. Most of the time people go straight for a cheating haxer, though.
No, Moo. Find the admin and kill him.
Hey, so I didn't catch your name, Handjob. Want to share? Izuku said, grateful that the Nomu had left his uncle and was now roaming the plaza looking for speakers to smash. The guy just growled at him. Oh, okay, no worries. I'll just do some of my cheating haxer things. And, okay, Shigaraki Tomura. And warp job, it's called Kurogiri. Neat.
How did you do that?
Shigaraki screamed again.
You shouldn't be able to do this.
And yet, here I am, doing this. Oh, by the way, I have a little secret for you. Knowing full well that Shigaraki and Kurogiri were going to escape as soon as the other heroes got there, Izuku decided to try something new. He had been working on a method to put a trace on cell phones, sort of like a location tag that he could access whenever he wanted. He had tried it with Uncle and Papa to ensure he always knew where they were. So far, all he'd tried to do with that was use it as a location tag, but he was hoping he could also use that tag to access the signals across the tag. Okay, so my secret is in the form of a joke, you ready? Izuku could practically see the frustration steaming off Shigaraki, and it was beautiful. Okay, so knock knock.
Who's there? Shigaraki hissed.
With a blast, the wall exploded, and the heroes arrived. The heroes are here. You're fucked now, Handjob. Shigaraki screamed in rage. Hey, Snipe, my man. The thing with the brain? Yeah, its weakness is the brain. Please and thank you.
Sure thing, Data, Snipe said as he shot the brain a few times, dropping it. Shigaraki and Kurogiri quickly made their escape. Papa was at Uncle's side seconds later. Izuku, now that the adrenaline of the attack had worn off, was numbly directing the police and medical units, keeping tabs on everyone's condition, even while having nearly all his focus on his uncle. Papa had joined the ambulance that had Uncle and was going with him to the hospital. Izuku would be able to catch a ride later. For now, he had to get this tag to Nezu. Then, he could go to his uncle.
All right, listeners, this concludes Chapter 14 of Datastream. Chapter 15 will be up next. Hope you all are still enjoying this fic, and as always, thank you so much for listening.